Hi, Paul. I thought it would be easier to show you the answer to your questions, or at least to one of those questions. I'm inside of Val Lewis's HubSpot account right now, where I've been added as a team member, and you can assign various privileges to team members based on the activity that you want them to be able to take inside of your account. How you do that is you go up here to this little gear icon. No matter what screen you're on, that should be available. And when you click that, it'll take you to the settings page, which has a whole bunch of things here on the left that you'll see in a moment. All of these things right here are useful for configuring your account. And one of those, what you're talking about right now in terms of adding me to your HubSpot, what I'm talking about in any case is you go to users and teams, and it will redirect you to this page. Hang on a moment while it loads. I may have mentioned to you that I live in the country, so I have satellite internet access, and particularly on overcast days such as today, my internet access is delightful, so I apologize for the delays. So you can see where in users and teams, the people that Val has given access to her account, so herself from her consulting business, herself as RevGrow, and then someone who does work with and for her, someone else who does work with and for her, me, and then our account manager, Vivek Singh, who's working on her campaign. So the way you do this is you click Create User, and it's going to ask for permissions to do this, which I don't have in her account to do that necessarily, but you can add the email address of whoever it is. And so I'll just pick myself, my personal email address on Gmail to show you how it looks. And so in here, they've got different levels of service. So inside of HubSpot, they call their various modules of functionality hubs. So they have their CRM hub, their marketing hub, their sales hub, and so on. What we're interested in is the CRM hub. And so you can click next and just pick one of the standard ones. What it'll do, you'll see here in a second. It gives you the option of various things. The marketing is really where you can communicate with people. And so this will be what allows me to send emails on your behalf, or that you could send emails from inside of here. The sales hub has one useful function that we'll use in our work in the campaign together. You in-house may use more function than that, but primarily what we're interested in here is the CRM, the customer relationship management functionality. So you just go ahead and select next. And so the defaults are fine. And you can create teams if you want to. You can create a team called RevGrow team or CRM team. You don't necessarily have to have teams. Typically, for larger companies where they have a bunch of people, they'll assign contacts and they'll create teams based on people's functionality. So you have a marketing team and a sales team and so forth. We don't necessarily need to introduce that complexity here, but that's really down to your preferences. And so then you click done when all of that's done, and I'll get an invitation that allows me to come in. And if I don't have sufficient privileges to do the things that I need to do, I will let you know. But that answers your question here. It isn't just that we need to have the data in there. I need to be able to update the statuses, add and remove people, and so forth, because we're going to be managing basically the properties and the coding. And what I mean by coding is, if you remember that document that I shared, here, I'll show it to you. Mark Franklin, HubSpot CRM properties. I just shared this with you last night. And what this is just a key. And so inside of HubSpot, it has what properties are, is what they call fields or tags and that kind of thing in other CRMs and email automation tools. I call them fields here, but HubSpot's name for that is properties. So that basically corresponds to a category, like a column head in a track or a spreadsheet. So we have the RevGrow cadence, which refers to our activity in the campaign. And so I need to be able to update this, and my account manager needs to be able to update this. Andrew, that is, needs to be able to update this with respect to where the last message that we sent to a prospect in the campaign. Date connected on LinkedIn is data that comes back from LinkedIn. Connected on LinkedIn by RevGrow is really for our purposes and your purposes to know which of these connections we actually made for you. This is important for our own metrics and for the metrics of the campaign. List we can ignore for right now. That's really the list from the data enrichment tool that I use. Content LinkedIn profile is a datum that comes back that is useful. Company description also is the data that we get. So we just created a field to house it in here. Company LinkedIn profile enables you to check out their company. and then whether or not they're a RevGrow lead. And so for our purposes, a lead is anybody that through the course of the messaging campaign agrees to a call. And so we need to be able to track that for the sake of measuring success, campaign success. Now, obviously, success from your perspective is not just that, but how good these leads are fitting and whether or not those conversations turn into business or referrals to business. And so that's what we're working on right now, is refining that process so that we can get you the right number of leads and the right quality of leads so that those conversations turn into business. HubSpot also has a bunch of built-in properties. The two that we're interested in for the sake of the campaign are lead status and lifecycle stage. And so what I've done here is just listed out what the individual values for each of these properties, i.e. categories, that we'll be using through the course of the campaign. And where you see those is when you're inside of HubSpot here. I'm going to go ahead and click done just so that we can get back. And so what we're going to be working in is inside here in the contacts part. And so we'll just take a quick look at one of Val's contacts so that you can see what this looks like from an individual record perspective. And again, I'm sorry for the slow load time of my internet. While this is loading up, I'll go ahead and answer another question here. What does manage the pipeline and outreach process involved? Well, so the first part of the pipeline is making connections with the new prospects, which we've done a lot of and we will continue to do throughout the course of the campaign. That's the 300 to 400 people that we've connected Mark with so far. And then sending the messages on LinkedIn and managing it in the sense that we keep track of who we sent what message when and let you know who has raised their hand for a call and follow up with you about who you've had conversations with, how those conversations went, and any business that comes from that. The outreach process, first part of it is that LinkedIn messaging campaign. And then the second part of it is sending emails to the non-responders on LinkedIn, meaning the folks that haven't said, yes, I'd like to have a conversation, or no, I'm not interested. The content is, something that we'll work out together in terms of what we call the value add messages. So for the standard LinkedIn campaign, we have a 5-message campaign. So we say thank you after they connect. We send them a value add message a week later. We send them a CTA a week after that. For anybody that doesn't convert in that process or opt out, we send them another value add message a week later. And then a week after that, we send them the second CTA. And then a couple of weeks after that, we put them into the email campaign. And that's what we'll be partly using HubSpot for, is keeping track of that piece. And that email campaign looks like the cadence piece on the tracking sheet. And I'll show you what that looks like here too. So here we are in Mark's tracking sheet, which you saw yesterday. I added a tab to it called Cadence. Let me find that real quick. Here we go. Just shot past it. Sorry about that. Cadence. And this is an example of how it looks. And so 7 days after that second CTA on LinkedIn, typically we will send a message that's a follow-up CTA. It's not the same verbiage. It's verbiage of the sort like this right here. Since we're connected on LinkedIn, I reached out to you there. And again, this is editable, but I know many people do not check LinkedIn, so I wanted to follow up in case you didn't see my earlier message. We tend to get conversions from those. And then for anybody that doesn't convert or opt out in that process, meaning say, yes, I'd like to have the call, or no, I really am not interested, which is most people, usually about 80 to 90% of the people we reach out to at this stage of the conversation are not ready yet. And so we want to maintain visibility in that relationship. So we send them a valuable piece of content. Then we send them a soft CTA, which is typically just asking them what they thought of that content with information for how they can contact you. Say, let me know if you have any questions or if there's anything I can do to help you, and so on. And you can see the cadence that we typically recommend going forward. And this is a discussion of what the general rationale for that process is. And as I showed you yesterday, these are the types of value-add content, categories of value-add content that we can and will develop with Andrew and me and your Andrew as part of the content marketing and also the value-add outreach. So then for the third piece, I already answered this, but just to address it explicitly, no, it's not exactly the same message as LinkedIn, but it is the follow that 7-day message is a CTA, and then thereafter is once a month messages with CTAs speckled in those. And typically you'll see more conversations in business over the course of time from that result while we're still doing the LinkedIn messaging and generating leads there. With the current subscription, I think what you're talking about here is HubSpot. There's never going to be a reason that you necessarily need to upgrade to the premium HubSpot. HubSpot has a variety of different premium levels, and the major reason you might want to do that is if you want to use the email automation function as opposed to manually sending emails. So you might want to update to their $45 a month, I believe it is, Marketing Hub, their basic level. The thing you've got to keep in mind is that there are two categories that they allow you to identify your connections in your CRM to. So it's an unlimited number of contacts in your CRM, but the ones that are designated marketing, meaning ones that you can use the marketing automation for, they charge you for. And I believe that's in tranches of 1,000 prospects. And so if you do at some point down the road, and there's no reason to do that at this stage, decide to upgrade to the Marketing Hub, let me know so we can make sure that you only have the ones that you really want to do email marketing to designated as marketing contacts. And I think that probably answers all of your questions. Let me know if it does not, and I'll be happy to answer more.